Welcome back to the TwinSpires jury. I'm Ashley Anderson here with your regular cast of characters. We got James Scully and Darin Zoccali to talk our best bets at Aqueduct, who's got a huge weekend ahead, plus Turfway Park, which opened on Wednesday. For the last time, Aqueduct will host the Grade 2 Cigar Mile, Remsen, and Demoiselle. We'll look at two of those three races, plus the inaugural Boone County Stakes as part of opening weekend at Turfway Park. So let's jump right in and head to Darin's neck of the woods for Aqueduct Racing and begin in the Grade 2 Remsen. It's race 9 on Saturday, a mile and an eighth for 2-year-olds, 3:08 p.m. Eastern Time. Darin, who is your pick in our Road to the Kentucky Derby prep race?
Yeah, really a competitive race. A lot of different ways you can go. I went shopping for a little bit of a price with Igniter. Probably one of the more under the radar maiden winners from the Aqueduct Fall Meet compared to some of the others in here. He's exiting a key race where the horse that ran second, Rebel Instinct, who he defeated, came back to win a maiden special weight at Aqueduct by about 3 lengths pretty clearly. In his debut, he ran third. The runner-up there, a horse by the name of Oscar's Hope, would come out of that to run second in an allowance at Keeneland, then won an allowance at Churchill, and then won the Jean Lafitte Stakes at Delta Downs about a week and a half ago, and could potentially be on target for the Gunrunner at the Fairgrounds. So he's coming out of two key races. When you take a look back at the replay of his win, I was really encouraged at the fact that he showed much more improved speed on the stretch out, going from the sprint to the one-turn mile. Now, he's definitely going to be asked for his best here. That's him second on the outside in the red jacket with the white sleeves. And he's being asked to go, being shown the stick here, and at the quarter pole, definitely being asked here. But he is a big-looking 2-year-old that probably is still growing into himself, and maybe just the kind of horse that you have to get into the bottom of. He's going to be able to put away the two here and hold off Rebel Instinct, a horse that would, as I mentioned earlier, would go on to do some very good things. The question with him, I guess, is the pedigree. He's a son of Volatile. He's going to go 9 panels, but his dam was a 2-turn distaff. She was a Grade 1 winner of the Ruffian at 9 furlongs. And I'm a little bit less concerned with the pedigree on the sire side because of what he has on the bottom side. Look, I freely admit the race that Paladin and Renegade are coming out of, it's a faster race on just about every speed figure metric that you could find. And that Ragozin number was a 9 and a 10 compared to Igniter, who ran a 13. But I'm hoping those two kind of come back to the pack, and maybe Igniter could take another step forward. I admit, guys, he's one of on a long list of contenders here in what I think is a pretty wide open race.
It is a wide open race, and I was looking at Igniter myself with that last out speed figure, good class rating on Brisnet past performances, and as you mentioned, that maiden race came back really strong. So I think he's definitely one at the top of my list as well. But James, talk about why you like courting one of 3 for Todd Pletcher here.
Yeah, and Darin referenced that maiden win for Igniter. Courting, he made his career debut in that race and ran 4th and then came back and won next out. So that's, you got the runner-up and 4th place finisher both win that race and go to a Grade 2 stake. That was a pretty good maiden field. But I do like Courting. He came back off of that first effort, good experience. I think it benefited him 6 weeks later on November 9th at Aqueduct in the second race. Basically, that field didn't have any pace. So he wound up pretty much, you could see him in the yellow, on the lead by default. And caught some pressure going around the turn. Looked like the race was sort of wide open a little bit turning for home. But this is what really caught my eye with Courting is I just really like this run in the stretch. I thought he looked the part. Obviously, this is a $5 million yearling who's a full brother to multiple Grade 1 winning millionaire, Clairiere. But in this race, I mean, Courting, granted they ran slow fast, but he runs that final quarter mile in 23.95 seconds. Got a good late pace number. That's the kind of effort I thought that finish in last time out in that maiden win that he really is a candidate to advance, keep moving forward upon. And I really like the fact that, Todd Pletcher, he generally likes to give these runners at least a month, 5 to 6 weeks between races. But he, right off that maiden win, he had Courting right back on the work tab 12 days later, and he's wheeling him back 27 days later for the Remsen. So I don't think that effort took much out of him. He's worked well twice since then. And like I said, I look for him to really take a step forward upon it. I think he's a extremely promising colt, and I'm going to take a shot with Courting at 9-2 on the morning line.
Yeah, Ashley, I thought it was really interesting if you watch that replay and the gallop out that Johnny Velasquez was not pulling the horse up. He was actually asking him to go a little bit further in that gallop out. It almost looked like the end of a workout where a rider's trying to get a little bit more out of the horse. You don't see that too often after a horse has run a race. I think they knew exactly what they were doing there. They knew what the next target was. They wanted to stretch his legs out a little bit more, and he responded very willingly to that. And I think he's actually the horse to beat despite the 9-2 morning line price.
He's the one I like the most of the three Todd Pletcher runners. Another horse I gave a long look at because a pedigree too. Courting is by Cavorting, who's a multiple Grade 1 winner, and also produced Cavalieri, who is a multiple Grade 1 winner. So really good pedigree. John Velasquez is on Courting as opposed to Renegade. So I'm guessing that he had the choice between the two and opted for Courting. I'm not really
surprised
sure.
he took the $5 million horse.
I don't really know what went into that. But
Yeah.
the fact
He's
that
like,
Todd
Mandy
Pletcher-
Pope, I'd love to ride your horses in the future, too.
Yeah, exactly.
So I ended up going, though, with Talkin' from the outside post, one of the outside posts, post 11, 5-1 on the morning line, 2-year-old by Good Magic, who produced Mage, Kentucky Derby winner Mage in 2023. Out of a Tis Now Mare wrote as well, who has 6 winners from 8 starters. Talkin' went on debut in a 7 furlong maiden special weight at Saratoga with a 92 Brisnet speed figure and beat Further Ado by about 6 lengths that day. Further Ado, of course, won the Grade 2 Kentucky Jockey Club this past weekend at Churchill to earn points on the Kentucky Derby leaderboard. And Talkin' in his second career start, he was in the Grade 1 Champagne, finished second behind Napoleon Solo, who set those blistering hot fractions, ran his 6 furlong time was almost the track record time at Aqueduct. So a very fast rendition of the Champagne. This is going to be Talkin's second try at a route. And I think that he has a lot of upside here with those pair of 90 in the 90s in the Brisnet speed figure. It's a 90 and a 92, but low 90s still compared to other horses in this field. Strong numbers coming into this race and looks to be working out well at Belmont. Danny Gargan as well has won 2 of the last 3 Remsens. So not that that necessarily means he's going to come back and win against this massive field in the Remsen, but he clearly knows how to win the race. And I like that this horse will probably come from off the pace too, because it seems like a lot of the runners that are in this field, at least in their previous tries, have gone to the front, and we don't know if they're going to do that necessarily again. But I think that Talkin' with that different tactic of coming off the pace, I thought he was a good shot here at a fair price, 5-1.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that Champagne Stakes is probably one of the more perplexing, riddle wrapped inside of an enigma type races, given the fractions and the speed figures connected to it. But, Universe came out of that race to run second to Incredibolt, who's a pretty highly regarded 2-year-old in the street sense. And he ran second the other day to Further Ado in the subsequent try as well at Churchill in the Kentucky Jockey Club Stakes. So that Champagne form has held up pretty good so far. We haven't seen the winner run back yet. But it's not a race I would definitely hold against him at this point.
Yeah.
And I do think this stretch out the 2 turn. Listen, in that Champagne, he got a little bit outpaced early. It went ridiculously wide. And I thought he showed some heart to outfinish Universe for second. The winner was just gone by that point. But he'll gain. He still ran, I thought, pretty good considering, and it's a good race to keep moving forward on. And I do like him stretching out in distance.
What are y'all's thoughts on Paladin? He obviously closed as one of the better, I don't know if you'd say better, but one of the lower prices in Pool 2. I'm trying to beat him. I think we're all trying to beat him, right? But
yeah,
what do you think about his actual chances in this race?
I think he's got as good a chance as any. It's just a reflection of the value and the perceived value elsewhere, given the fact that I think this field is very competitive. The race came back with an extremely good figure. The winner, Renegade, ran a 9.25. Paladin ran a 10. I think there's an argument to be made based on the dynamics of that race that Paladin actually ran the better race of the two because he was sitting 3 wide amongst 4 horses across the track, vying for the early lead. He put away the speed. 2 of the other 3 that were alongside of him were beaten by a pole at the wire. And Renegade that day just sat in and behind those 4 horses along the inside, waited until the hole opened up, which it did. He never even had to swing out. He just went right through the opening that appeared. And I think Paladin did a lot of the work there. So I respect him. I think he's got a great shot. I think Renegade's got a great shot. There's literally 7 horses in this field that I think could win. He's one of them. I just think he's going to be favored. So given that,
Mm-hmm.
I can't pick him.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
has a lofty reputation for sure. I mean, a $1.9 million son of gun runner, and he got bet down to even money in his debut. But I do think that looking at his draw, I mean, he's going to show inside speed. There's a lot of these runners like to be up close, but I think that's going to force Pratt's hand. And if he leads all the way, I won't be surprised either. It's like Darin said, it's a price thing.
Yeah. Well, next up, it's the Grade 2 Cigar Mile, race 10 on Saturday. Obviously, the mile distance for 3-year-olds and up, 3:37 p.m. Eastern Time. James, why do you like Bishop's Bay in this field?
I like Bishop's Bay because I think he's based on that 49er that he is back in top form. He basically, this is a horse who's a 5-year-old at the end of his 5-year-old season who's run 12 times. So, he hadn't strung a lot of races together for extended periods of times during his career. And, this season I thought, after he ran in June in that Salvatore Mile in the slop, he was on the shelf for 2 months. He was in with a chance at the top of the stretch in the Forego and weakened that day. And then he needed a couple more months before the 49er, 6 more weeks. But with this 49er performance, this is his 3rd start at a mile this day. And, he's a miler. To me, Bishop's Bay is a horse that, like I said, he's only run 12 times. He just sold for $1.3 million at the Keeneland sale right after this win in the 49er. And I think they're going to be pointing him for the Met Mile and the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile next year, and they're going to fill in races in between. And given this field, I think he's going to have an opportunity to shine at a distance that he loves. 3 for 3 at a mile, Bishop's Bay.
Yeah, this is my second choice. It was really hard to pick against him. I agree with all that you're saying right here. But Darin, I'll turn it over to you. You have a horse moving back up in class. Why do you like the 1, Doc Sullivan?
Yeah, again, it's perceived value and how I think people are going to bet the race. I think it's going to be pretty fascinating because I think a lot of people are going to see the race from a similar lens where you have Mika, you have Phileas Fogg, who are 2 complete speedballs, and you have Bishop's Bay, who wants to be pretty close to the pace, and they're going to look at this race as setting up for a closer. And I think Crazy Mason is going to take a lot of money in this race, given that particular situation, which is why I went to Doc Sullivan. I think he gets a dream trip here. I mean, if this horse doesn't sit 4th with Mika and Phileas Fogg head and head for the lead and Bishop's Bay sitting 3rd off them, and he doesn't get first run on that group, I would be really, really shocked. He comes into this in excellent form. He loves Aqueduct. 4 of his 6 lifetime wins are at this track. He's 8 for 13 in the exacta here. You take a look at his 2 recent races where he finished narrowly behind Crazy Mason. And as I mentioned, he's a major player in here. He paired up his top Ragozin number last time out, which was a 6 1/4. And when you take a look at the other 2 major players in here, Bishop's Bay, Phileas Fogg, their best numbers are 5 1/4. So he's right there. And this is a look here at Doc Sullivan getting the job done most recently over a sloppy track, which is going to bring me to my one concern. Both of his best lifetime speed figures are on off tracks. I concede that point. One of them is at Aqueduct, though, and it just happens to be a track that I think he likes quite a bit. But this is a horse that you could see here who stalked the pace, pounced, leveled off beautifully, and he's finishing, even though he was pressing the pace, finishing fast of all. And I think he's going to get an even better dream trip here. Hopefully, maybe we get some rain, comes out of nowhere. It'd be nice for him. But I think that Doc Sullivan is coming into this in very good form. And again, it's a value thing. I think of the 4 major contenders, he is far and away going to offer the best price of the 4. So I landed on him.
His numbers are really solid.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Listen, he will probably need to improve slightly. But it's not so far out of the possibility. He's not that far behind the best in here. And he's, going to be, double, triple the price of some of these horses.
You mentioned the pace setup and the horses that want to go to the front. That's why I went with the 4 Crazy Mason, not getting quite as good of a price, but I do think he's a really solid chance in here. I backed him earlier in the Carter, a grade 2, when he was racing back in April, got that win, closing well that day. I think he's going to get that nice setup with Phileas Fogg going to the front, Mika as well, and Bishop's Bay pressing that early pace. And Crazy Mason's been racing between 6 furlongs and 7 furlongs in his last 8 starts, but he does have 3 tries at the mile distance and has a win and a third from those 3 starts. His last win did come all the way back in April in the Carter. He had a 100 Bristnet speed figure that day. Then he cut back slightly at the True North to 6.5 furlongs and was a rallying third to Bookham Dano, who's probably going to be our Eclipse Award-winning sprinter this year. And then the last 2 starts, Crazy Mason was racing that 7 furlong distance and placed when closing well with triple-digit late pace ratings. I think the extra furlong is going to benefit him here, considering how he's been rallying in his last 2 starts. And I think he has the best closing kick. If you look at these late pace figures, a 107 last out, a 111 2 back. He's had triple-digit late pace ratings going all the way back to his start in January at Aqueduct. So the consistency with those late pace figures, I respect the closing kick. I got to back Crazy Mason over the other off the pace runners here. And he has 3 wins and a second from 5 starts at Aqueduct. So I'll take the 7-2. I hope that he's the third choice at post time. Phileas Fogg, I have my question marks about cutting back to this distance, but I still hope he takes a little bit more money than Crazy Mason.
On VA, he's putting the blinkers on too. On Phileas Fogg, I looked for anything reported on this and I couldn't find it. And if I missed it, forgive me, but I'll ask the question. Did they take Carmouche off this horse? Like, is that a knowing thing?
I don't know. I was gonna say, like, look at the musical chairs with the jockeys in general in this field. Because Doc Sullivan, you got Joel Rosario coming off, and he's going on. Who did he go on?
Crazy Mason.
Yeah.
He's on Crazy Mason. Or no, Phileas Fogg. Yeah, Phileas Fogg.
Yeah,
You're
and
right.
then Crazy Mason had Manny Franco, now has Irad. Where is Manny Franco in this field? Wait, yeah, he's on Mika. Like, everyone's moving around.
It's crazy about Crazy.
The
thing about Crazy Mason is he's a stretch closer. You know, I mean, he's not making up a lot of ground on the far turn. Some of these deep closers, you know, they'll get in gear on the bend and then continue their run into the stretch. Yeah. He pretty much waits to the end of the far turn and then launches his kick. So he's fun to watch when he's on his game.
I think the question with him that's fair to ask, he does have a win at a mile. Well, he has a win at a mile and 40 yards as a young 3-year-old at Tampa Bay Downs in a race that he had really no competition in. Is that kick going to be as pronounced at a mile as it is at 6.5, 7 furlongs? Because there is a difference. I know it doesn't sound like it. It's an eighth of a mile. But, you know, some horses are better 6, 7 than they are at a mile. And, you know, it's possible that this horse is a 7 furlong specialist and the mile, maybe it doesn't suit him as well as 7. I don't know. We'll find out, I guess. But, yeah, I was fascinated by that. Again, I was fascinated at the fact, I don't know what Carmouche did wrong to be taken off Phileas Fogg. I mean, he went to the front like he always does with the horse, and he got beat by Locked in the Woodward, who's not exactly a bad horse. So, I don't know. Very, very odd with the jockey musical chairs for sure.
Yeah, I was trying to look into it to see if anything was reported.
I looked.
Not really seeing anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, before we move on to our next race, it's time for promos and tournaments. So, Darin, I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, great stuff this weekend. Obviously, the Remsen Day card is going to be the highlight of the weekend across the country. And we have one of our favorite promotions, the Win Ladder. And this is going to be what we call a rhythmic promo throughout the month of December. And what that means is you're going to find a $5,000 win ladder at a racetrack every Saturday. And it's going to move from track to track. It's going to go where the big races are. And this weekend, it's going to be Saturday at Aqueduct, $5,000. Take a look at how you qualify. You have to win a certain number of races to share in a variety of different prizes. But if you check all the boxes and you get yourself all the way up the ladder, you will share in $5,000. And of course, the more races you win, once you go up to the next rung of the ladder, there's going to be less people winning that many races. So you have a larger portion of the pool to share in. So a lot of fun. It's a great promotion. And all you have to do is make win bets in order to get involved. And it promotes winning, which we certainly want to reward the horse players at TwinSpires when they cash tickets. And speaking of rewarding when you cash tickets, we also have a 15% odds boost on Fridays at Turfway Park. This is pretty simple. You're going to get a bump on those winning win wagers at Turfway Park, 15% on top of your return up to a $25 daily cap. So that's Friday at Turfway Park as they are now underway, one of my favorite meets each and every winter. And on the tournament front, a couple of big ones coming up. We'll kick it off with the Kentucky Derby Betting Challenge qualifier on this coming Saturday, the Remsen Stakes. We've talked about it, of course. We already are guaranteeing 2 Kentucky Derby Betting Challenge seats because it has become such a popular event based on the feeders. There's already nearly 40 players in this contest, so I imagine we will get to at least 3 seats when all is said and done. So high reward in the Remsen KDBC qualifier. And then we have one of those mid-major types coming up the following Saturday, supporting our friends at Turfway Park for their Turfway Synthetic Championships. $1,500 contest, $1,000 to your bankroll, $500 to the prize pool. You're going to get KDBC seats, NHC seats, and cash prizes as well. So the Turfway Synthetic Betting Championship, and you can qualify for that event in these feeder contests all along for the next week and a half. So might be cooling off weather-wise, but action always heating up promos and tournaments, Ashley.
Speaking of Turfway, we're taking it to our holiday meet officially underway. Saturday's card features the first ever Boone County Stakes, carded as race 7, 1.25 miles on the all-weather track for 3-year-olds and up, 8:55 p.m. Eastern time. I think Travis Kelce, still a part owner of Swift Delivery, so he's got a rooting interest in this race. I don't think any of us picked him and his horse, but I'll start with you, Darin. Who did you pick in our Boone County Stakes?
Well, I took the old fishing line and went shopping for a long shot. Try to reel one in. Yep, that's a correct pick right there. 30-1 on Tappet Shoes. Tappet Shoes is a horse. I don't know if he's really going to be 30-1 in here, but you take a look at this field. There's only 2 horses in the race that have ever won at 10 furlongs. There's only 2 horses in the race that have ever won at 10 furlongs at Turfway Park. Tappet Shoes and Prince of Power. And Tappet Shoes did it in a similar spot in a tough allowance event last winter. It's very hard to know when he's going to fire his best shot. But when he gets the right setup, he can come up and surprise you. And you're going to get a look at him in one of his more recent events, a race that he ran quite well in here, the Presque Isle Downs Mile. And this is a race where he's going up against very talented stakes competition. He's going at a distance shorter than he really wants to run at. And I think here, going into this spot, getting the additional ground at Turfway, and the race, I think, is also going to set up very kindly for him. You're going to see him kind of flash into your screen here right at the end, bang, getting up there for 4th. But Tappet Shoes at 1.25 miles, you take a look at the race. Yeah, there's a lot of speed in here for a 1.25 miles race at Turfway Park. Fantastic again, strong quality, Genius Jimmy, all want to go from the inside. I think Common Defense is going to be relatively close. And Prince of Power has got to get good position from the outside as well. So literally half the field wants to be forward. That usually sets things up well for a horse coming from off the pace. So give me the horse that's done this before, going 10 furlongs at Turfway Park, second off the layoff, dropping out of a stake race. When he drops out of stakes, guys, he's dangerous. He's done this before to go from stake to allowance and parlay that to a victory. We'll take a big swing here and try to blow things open at 30-1.
I don't think it's crazy. I looked at this horse too because I feel like I see his name all the time, and then it's when you think he's not going to run well, he runs well, and especially his last time on the all-weather, he had a really good late pace rating, and you're talking about the early speed in here that could set up well for Tappet Shoes. I think if you can get 30-1, that's going to be a great price for you because I do think he's very much in play here, at least to hit the board.
And the last race, Wolfie's Dynagos went wire to wire. It was a turf course that played kindly to speed. It was a race that really did not have a lot of pace in it. I think that race is just a complete toss out. And he might be best on synthetics too, which is what he's getting here.
Yeah. James, you're going with some early speed. So why do you think the 1 is going to win this race?
I'm going with the speed of the speed. Number 1, Fantastic again. This is a 5-year-old son of Fantastic who was probably more than ready, and I didn't really know much about him. Thought, he throws routers. He's been a router sire. His average winning distance of his offspring is 7.4 furlongs, and I think Fantastic again is a horse that as he's gotten older has gotten better at longer distances. And one thing for certain, he loves Turfway Park, and he's had 5 starts here. We're going to look at one of his last wins. He's got 3 wins from those 5 starts, and the other 2 races were Grade 3 stakes, the Jeff Ruby and the Kentucky Cup Classic that he ran 3rd in. And the thing with Fantastic again is that, he's won before sitting up close, But as he showed 2 starts back in that Grade 3 Dominion Day Stakes at Woodbine, to me, he's best when controlling the pace and being drawn on the inside. It really doesn't leave his jockey, Gerardo Corrales. And listen, Gerardo Corrales has ridden as well at Turfway as anybody the last couple of years. He knows the game there, and he's going to send Fantastic again from the rail, I project, and try to take him wire to wire. And like I said, I loved his win. He got a triple-digit brisnet speed and a triple-digit late pace number, leading wire to wire in the Grade 3 Dominion Day, 2 starts back. Last time out, he didn't make the lead. Once again, I think he's better with controlling the pace, and I'll look for a front-running victory from Fantastic again.
First time that he's running races really close together in a very long time also. He's a horse that has routinely had a lot of gaps between his races. I mean, whenever you see a horse that's got, 10 race lines and you still see a race from January of 2023 in the PPs. I mean, January to March to May of 23, then he's off till 24. January to March to May to September, then he's off to 25. April, June, November. So now for the first time, he's running back in about 4 weeks, which is pretty interesting, and we'll see how he responds to it.
So I went with the slightly different run style here. The 6 Safe Trip Home listed as a late closer in Brisnet past performances, but last outset a little bit closer to the early speed in the Grade 2 Sycamore. This is a horse trained by Doug Cowens, who has run well at Turfway Park, has 2 wins, a second from 5 tries. My light just went out inside the room. I don't know what just happened, but 2 wins and a second from 5 starts on the all-weather track. And last 4 starts was racing on the turf and did well at that marathon distance of 1.5 miles, has a win in the Colonial Cup on Colonial Downs' turf, and then was second, just barely beaten in the Grade 2 Sycamore on the turf at Keeneland, going 1.5 miles. So the distance of 1.25 miles is no question here. The horse has the stamina, had been racing at around 1 mile at Turfway Park in the past, but I'm not concerned at all about going back to the Tapeta surface and then going longer here. Doug Cowens also turf to all weather. He is a 42% winner from his last 19 starters that went from turf to all weather. Going to have the same rider that Safe Trip Home has had in his last 2 starts. I mean, I'm getting 7-2. I'm getting one of the shorter prices here, but I thought it was fair value for a horse that clearly is going to do well at this longer distance and has done well over the all-weather surface. So I went with Safe Trip Home.
Yeah, he was banging around entry-level allowance races earlier in the year, and you can look at those last 2 starts, winning the Colonial Cup turf by 2.5 lengths or 2.25 lengths, and then running a close second in that Grade 2 Sycamore. He's really turned the corner, you could say, here of late for Dougie Cowens, and 7-2 that in a big 11-horse field like that, I thought that was a little aggressive on him, but he's going to take some money because he's a serious contender.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's the horse to beat. I think he lands here because the Turfway Synthetic Championship night, the races for the older horses is only 1 mile, and this race he's got a little bit more ground at 1.25 miles, so I think it's a more logical spot. My guess is that Safe Trip Home is going to be potentially target Kentucky Cup Classic. I expect to see him here in a lot of these stakes races leading up to that all winter long.
Is anyone surprised that Common Defense ended up being the morning line favorite? Coming off the turf and
not really, not off of that last effort. I mean, that was a pretty good race.
Yeah, I think it was a coin flip between Safe Trip Home and Common Defense. If he went the other way, wouldn't have minded it either. The one thing I will say that I give a slight edge to Safe Trip Home. Well, I prefer his running style given the amount of speed in the race, but I also give him a little bit of a bump because he's got 2 wins over the all weather, and Common Defense, has never tried it. I know that a lot of people like turf to all weather and think that always works. It doesn't always work. Just because a horse runs on turf doesn't mean they're going to like a synthetic surface. So I gave a slight edge to Safe Trip Home, but I mean, I thought it was 50-50 either way.
But to close out, we'll talk about other horses we might be fading at a short price. And James, I'll start with you. Who is your fade of the week?
I'm taking on Zany, number 3 Zany in the Grade 2 Demoiselle. Now, this is American Pharaoh filly that debuted going 6.5 furlongs in early November at Aqueduct and won by 6.5 lengths and got an 88 Brisnet speed rating. And obviously that speed rating sort of stands out, a little bit when you look at her and the contestants in here, but I'm a little dubious of that performance. Both the runner-up and the third-place finisher have both come back and lost in their next start, and I've seen this before this fall. Savvy Joseph had a 2-year-old filly named Sakan who won at first asking and got a better speed rating than Zany, going 7 furlongs at Gulfstream. And I'm just not taking these 2-year-old maiden races in the summer and early fall at face value, these numbers, because that's a can off of that performance, off of her numbers. She was 6-5 in the Tempted Stakes, and she got drilled by Schilling, who's in this field here in the Demoiselle. And like I said, I think it's going to be a really tough task, stretching out to a mile and an eighth. She had everything her own way on the front end last time, and there's other speed in this field to her inside, namely Schilling. But, jumping the gun is also potentially going to be out there, as well as, perhaps concurrently off of that last wire-to-wire win. So just off of that 6.5 furlong maiden race, I don't trust the number. I'm going to take on Zany, stretching out to a mile and an eighth against more experienced runners in her second start.
Yeah, I'll even add to it, and this is a little bit of a theoretical question, but a Todd Pletcher 2-year-old filly that he paid $350,000 for from Mike Rapoli that was at Monmouth over the summer training and then went down to Gulfstream in September, debuted at Gulfstream before the championship meet, and now comes back up to Aqueduct. Like, if they thought this horse was really that good, the horse would have been at Saratoga all summer training, probably would have debuted in New York. It's a very weird path. So I'm guessing that race might have even taken the connections by surprise. So I agree. I think she's a fade as well.
And look at the 6th, Believable, who had been training at Saratoga against
Right.
John Velasquez with Todd Pletcher.
Yep, there you go.
So I wonder if that's who he likes a little bit better. We'll find out. All right, Darin, why do you not like, I'm not going to even try to say that. You go ahead.
No, you got to try, Ashley.
Vittore d'Oro? I'm not sure. Is it Italian?
That works.
Okay.
Vittore d'Oro. That works. This is one of my low-hanging fruit ones that I give out quite a bit. It's just a $15,000 claiming race, not one as a 2-life. She's 1 for 19. She's 5 years old. She hasn't raced since May. She was beaten at this level in March of last year. You take a look at all of her races on her card, with the exception of one, she has been 11-1 or higher. I understand that this race, maybe the field is not that strong. She's going out for a barn that's winning at 6%. The rider wins at 7%, and the horse wins at 5%. You throw all that together, and you're going to give me a horse that's 3-1 on the morning line. I just have to imagine that somebody else in this field that's lightly raced, is going to jump up and run a better race. Whether that's the horse right to her inside in Sadrada, who I could certainly see, racing well in this spot, or Jersey's Parade, who's going second race back off the Churchill disaster. Somebody else is going to jump up and run a race and beat this horse is what it comes down to.
I'll take it. Oh, because I haven't looked at that race too closely.
No, I mean, the one race she did win was a pathetic maiden 15 claimer, and I bet those runners haven't done much either since.
Well, I'll take it back to Aqueduct for race 8, and I'm going to try to beat number 10 Hot Currency at 7-2, trained by Linda Rice, and took 3 tries to break her maiden, did so in dominant fashion, last out at 6.5 furlongs when adding blinkers, and she'll have top rider Flavian Pratt, but she did draw an outside post in this stakes race, and one last out pressing the pace, and if she's going to be forwardly placed here from an outside post, I have a little concern. There's other speed to contend with here, and I see plenty of other chances who I think have better prices. I am a little scared about playing against the pairing of Linda Rice and Flavian Pratt, but this horse I don't think is just jumping off of the paper telling me like I need to back the 10 in this. It's a New York Stallion Series stakes. I should have mentioned that at the top, but I think there's other horses who have very good speed figures in here who I'd rather play, who have better positioning, I think, from the gate as well. So playing against the 7-2 lukewarm favorite.
Yeah, I agree with you about that trip last time. I thought that trip really helped her being able to stay close and being in a position just to take a big lead at the top of the stretch and hold it. But she will no way she's getting that trip. I mean, this Daniela Marie is showing, I think, real speed from the outside, and there's other speed, Honest Reason, and others to her inside,
Hmm.
and yeah, that trip, she's going to, I think, switch back to stalking tactics on Saturday.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think that's all we have today for the TwinSpires jury. We'll be back next week to debate more Turfway Park. We got the synthetic championships coming up, maybe some fairgrounds for Louisiana Champions Day. We'll let you know when we figure it out, but we will see you next Thursday.